Just the normal crap that they like to pull. They can shut down the government again over some nonsense like the debt ceiling or whatever reason Ted Cruz wants to go read Green Eggs and Ham or whatever. So with McConnell in charge of the Senate, you still, it's like leaving one of the horsemen of the apocalypse still riding. Like you can get rid of Trump, you can get rid of Barr, you can get rid of Stephen Miller, but if you keep Mitch McConnell, it just ain't fixed. Because he's one of the worst political actors in the last probably 100 years. He's worse than Newt Gingrich was in the 90s. He's worse than Lee Atwater was in the 80s. He's worse as far as just cynical, completely non-patriotic, couldn't give a shit about anything except W's in their column. That's what political cynicism means. It's a political nihilism that none of it really matters. The only thing that matters is winning and staying in power. So as long as it's a W in our column, then nothing else matters. And McConnell is one of those. He could not give less of a shit about the American people, about democracy, about the Constitution, about the Senate, about anything except W's for the Republicans. As good as legislation would be. So executive orders are no way to govern. And another thing too, a lot of people seem to, just as a sort of matter of course, like divided government, quote unquote divided government, meaning one party in the White House and another party in charge of the Senate and that sort of thing, so they keep each other in check. And I used to be in favor of that kind of thing, and I absolutely get the sentiment. And under normal circumstances, that might be a good thing. But the way our politics is now, a 50-50 Senate with the Democrats technically in the majority is a divided government, even if we have a Democrat in the White House. Because we have so many red state Democrats. Remember how hard it was to pass Obamacare? We're barely able to squeak through the Affordable Care Act through all kinds of Senate maneuvers and all kinds of this and that, and barely able to get it passed. Because of these red state Democrats they call blue dog Democrats. And that'll be people like Joe Manchin in West Virginia. And if we have Perdue and Warnock in Georgia, it'll be people like Kelly in Arizona and Sinema in Arizona. And Kelly was just sworn in, which is cool. So we've actually gained a seat since the election in the Senate. So really, even with a 50-50 Senate, that doesn't mean it's going to suddenly turn into a bunch of Bolsheviks running the country. Obviously, Biden's not going to be that kind of president. And even a 50-member Democrat Senate is not going to be going for a whole bunch of, universal basic income and Medicare for all and Green New Deal. And they're not going to just hop on board and change everything overnight the way people on the right have been scared into thinking. It's just not the way those Democrats are. Which is why, again, I say it's about the process. It's about who's actually in charge of the Senate. Who makes the decisions on what gets heard, what gets said, what gets voted on, what gets debated, what gets investigated. Those are the kind of things we will be in charge of if we win these 2 Senate seats.